Hello everyone, my name is Whitney and I am an instructor and physical therapist at Slippery Rock University's Storm Harbor Equestrian Center. Today I'm going to be teaching you some different stretches you can do to achieve the best posture when we're horseback riding. You're not going to need a lot of equipment for today's stretches, just some open floor space. If you're stretching on a hard floor, I'd recommend getting a towel or mat of some sort, and you'll also need a small towel and a belt. Stretching is something that can be done every day, and it helps us to relax, not only in the saddle, but in our everyday lives. It's always good to be warm before stretching, so it might be a good idea to go on a walk or do some jumping jacks to warm up the muscles before we get started. Breathing is also a very important aspect of stretching, so we want to take some nice deep breaths as we're holding these stretches to help relieve any tension that we're holding in the muscles. One other thing to keep in mind is that we should never feel pain when we're stretching, only a slight discomfort in the muscle group that we are stretching, and we should never feel pain in our joints when we're stretching. Another thing, never bounce. Only hold the position and then get a little deeper into it as your muscles start to relax. Before we get started with our stretches, I'd like everyone to take a look at what proper posture looks like on our horse. So if we look at this illustration, you can see that the rider's ear, shoulder, hip, and ankle all are in a line. Okay, so these stretches are going to help to loosen up some of the muscle groups we need to achieve that posture in our saddle. So we're going to start off with our chest. So this rider that we looked at, you can see that they had their shoulders squeezed back and their chest open. So we'll start with a stretch to help us open our chest. So you're going to need that small towel or the belt that you grabbed before we got started, and you're going to take it and put it behind your back. You're going to hold the ends of it with your palm up. From here, you're just going to start to lift your arms together with your towel until you feel some stretching in your chest. Notice that I'm keeping my back nice and straight as I do this as well. Okay, we don't want to be arching our back when we're stretching, a nice neutral posture. And we're just going to keep lifting that towel a little more as our chest muscles start to loosen up. This can be held anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Okay. And again, as those muscles loosen up, you can just keep raising up that towel. All right, our next stretch is going to be for our back. And for this stretch, we'll actually be getting down onto our mats or onto the floor. So this is called a child's pose. So when we're doing our child's pose, we'll start in a kneeling position. Okay, we'll rock our hips back onto our feet, and from here we're going to slide our hands forward and we're just trying to elongate our back here. Take some deep breaths and just try to release any tension that your muscles are holding, and just keep trying to walk those fingers up away from your body as you feel your muscles relax. Again, we're going to stay here for about 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And then once we feel like our back is nice and stretched out, it's loosened up a little bit, we can just let those hands slide back and we'll come back up to our standing position. Okay, the next stretch we're going to do is for our inner thighs, groin. Okay, for this stretch, you're going to have to take a nice wide stance. Okay, if you feel like you might get a little off balance, you can do this stretch at a counter, something to hold on to. I'm going to demonstrate without holding on to anything. So we're going to have our feet nice and wide apart. And then from here, we're just going to shift all of our weight to one side to help and stretch out our inner thigh. So you just want to keep kind of shifting your weight over until you feel a stretch in your inner thigh. And again, holding this for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. We can also do the other side. The same idea, shifting our weight the other way. You can, if you're not holding on to a counter while you're doing this, you can support and get some balance by putting your hands on your knee that is bent. And just keep in mind that we're stretching the leg that's nice and straight. All right, the next stretch we're gonna do is for our hip flexors. So it's really important that we keep our leg nice and long. We don't want to get in a position in the saddle where our hip is bent and our leg's out in front of our body. So for this stretch, we're gonna kneel on the ground. Okay, so once you're kneeling, you can bring one foot up in front of you. Okay, from here, we want to try to tuck our pelvis so that's nice and upright and we're not slouching, but we're also not arching our back. So we want our pelvis nice and upright. And you're going to start to feel a little bit of a stretch in the leg that's back, the leg you're actually kneeling on. If you want a little deeper stretch in the hip flexor, you can just kind of shift your weight forward, keeping the pelvis nice and upright, your back elongated. And you're just kind of thinking of moving the pelvis forward and also down to the floor. And we're just lengthening the front of the hip here. Again, we're going to want to do this on both sides. So we'll bring our other foot up. We're going to go ahead and make sure that pelvis is nice and upright. And then from here, just shifting our weight forward. And again, lengthening the front of our hip. Okay. All right, our next stretch is going to be for our hamstrings, which are in the back of our leg here. This stretch is going to be really important because we want to keep our leg long around the horse. Okay, so for this stretch, you're going to put one foot out in front of you, and you're going to keep the foot that's out in front of you nice and straight as you bend the leg that's in the back and kind of shift your weight back. You also want to keep your toes pointed up on the leg that's straight, and you should start to feel a stretch in the back of the thigh and maybe even down into your calf as well. You can support yourself by putting your hands on the thigh that with the knee that's bent. And again, all these stretches are going to be held for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and we'll switch and we'll do the other side too. You might even notice that one side feels a little tighter than the other. Feel free to spend a little more time on that side if you do have one side that feels tighter than the other. Our last stretch is going to be for our calf. And again, it's really important that we have a nice long leg around our horse. So our calves are in the back of our leg. It helps our leg to lengthen if they're nice and loose. And it helps us to keep our heels down when our feet are in the stirrups. So one stretch we can do is you'll need to be near a wall or a counter of some sort, something where you can put your toes up on. And you're going to just start with one leg out in front, your toes on the wall, and you're just going to keep your knees straight and shift your weight forward. Okay, so just kind of pulling your hips into the wall, and you're going to feel a real nice stretch in the back of your calf there. And you'll hold this again 30 seconds to 2 minutes, focusing on the nice deep breath to relax. And again, we'll have to do the other side. And this is another stretch, if you feel tighter on one side than the other, you can always spend a little more time on that side that's tighter. All right. So those are our stretches. It's going to really help you to have a nice posture in the saddle, and I hope those help you for the next time you do get to ride. Bye, everyone.